gonna swing. We out. Ain't got Welcome to Respecting Perspectives, a podcast where you must respect your own perspective before you can understand, before you can even begin to understand others. My name is Andrew, AWALL Artist Cornwall, and thank you for joining me. Woo, this is we're coming up to the first round of podcasts here, and it's feeling good. We're at the Watermelon Room here in Baltimore, good old Baltimore, Maryland, somewhere on the East Coast there. All right, if you know, you know. Okay. And there's one thing I really want to point out, and that is that we have a dedicated line just for people to call and, dude, you can call and leave a message about whatever you want, okay? You know, maybe you got some poetry you just wrote and you're trying to, you know, you're just trying to get it out into the world a little bit, a little offering, you know? Call and just drop a few lines. Maybe a little freestyle. I know some cats who, you know, hey, you know who I'm talking about. Call that line, all right? It's 443-292-2677. One more time, 443-292-2677. Okay? Give it a call. Shout some homies up. Let me know about some shows. You know, call about some questions, anything. Some guests that you would like to see right here. You know, I do have a little bit of a surprise for y'all later, but that's later, so we're going to focus on now. And when I talk about focusing on the now, it makes me think of a book that I read called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and it is a life changer. Really makes you think about your time here and the fact that you only do have a certain amount of time on this earth. Now, you will leave a legacy. But in order to leave a legacy, you have to find yourself in the now to be able to leave footprints for others. You know, you got to understand your own footprint. You got to study it. Every little indentation, and where's it going? It's got me thinking about what inspires me. I'm going to talk about inspiration a lot because it is something that drives my life. When writing music, thinking about and hearing, being able to revisit some of these musical pieces back in the day really is a powerful tool to have at our fingertips. And just to name a few, I mean, you got Mac. You know, Mac was, I know what it's like to lose your favorite artist. Man, that can feel, it's a hard one. You can feel hurt. You could feel despair. Makes you kind of feel like, you know, they left you without, you know, leaving that note. Just with more, you know, more questions sometimes than answers. Man, and at first it was a challenge to be able to find inspiration, kind of knowing that it was not going to be there, like I could depend on it from him. And soon start to realize that, I mean, I have to be my own. I feel like as an artist, you have to be your own favorite artist. And I'm not saying that in like an egotistical way. I'm saying that in a appreciating your gift of artistry and understanding where it's coming from, what it's doing, and where it can go. And it's huge to really be able to harness that and understand that. You have to be able to provide for yourself as an artist in like emotional situations. There's certain songs that I have that make me feel a certain way, so if I know I'm like lacking that at a certain time, you know, I can prescribe that to myself in a song. And that's deep. I'll mention Caskey, man. That's one of my good friends, a brother, who I've 10 years ago heard a few songs and was just blown away. And I reached out to him and was able to continually make a connection with him to this day. And I'm so grateful, okay? I know you'll hear this at some point, Cass, and I'm so grateful for your journey and your being able to really just harness some hard times that you had in your life and turn them into triumph out of the tribulations. Man, it's deep. You know, I don't even have to go through some of the things that some of my homies went through to really actually see what it does and how it can hurt someone and also heal them at the same time. Speaking of Caskey, him and Anonymous worked together to create a summit called the Future of Artists Summit, and it's happening in about 2 or 3 months. I believe it's August 31st to September 1st, and it's down in Orlando, Florida. And I highly suggest that you look into it and be there. The last one last year was monumental, and we were able to forge connections that have blossomed all around the United States. And now, like, when there's a tour or this or that, or you know, something's going on, you know, we got homies in spots now. You know? Show up to, like, Minnesota and some shit. With the gang. Who else? Gosh, J. Cole, huge inspiration. All the production he does. I mean, like him and I mean, like Eminem, I'll put that in there for sure. You know, his just attention to detail and craft is huge for me. I have to hear that you're like flexing some sort of muscle. And maybe you don't even know the muscle that you're flexing, but it's happening. Let's see here. Who else? A$AP Rocky. Man, one of my favorite concerts was A$AP Rocky and Rihanna down at what was the Royal Farms Arena in Baltimore. And that, man, that really let me see that, like, you could fill a freaking arena with people. Man. Let's see here. Who else? Lil Peep. Man. Moment of silence for Lil Peep. Man, just being able to hone in on a sound in your basement with 1 or 2 friends, sometimes even just by yourself. You know, pressing a few buttons and getting those levels to the right amounts. Man, I'm so grateful for Lil Peep and his music. It's a huge influence on the sound that I have in the near future. 3 6 Mafia. Oh, man. They taught me that there's a formula to making music. And that little little sections upon little sections can create something hypnotizing. Super grateful for them, man. But, let's go back to Lil Peep and being able to create your own defined and distinct sound. I'm going to kind of segue into an artist that I was speaking with a few friends about this weekend, Lana Del Rey. And gosh, man, I am so inspired by someone who can take you with their music to a specific time. Like even like a time period. I mean, like, not many artists can do that. Very few. And that's something that, like, I would say Billie Eilish does that as well. But to be able to create your own musical universe. And someone said that, like, she's making music and, she's just letting us in or on for the ride. She's just being her. Man, that's pretty cool. Her music takes me to like the 20s and like the 30s and like the Industrial Revolution. And she's got that heart and that soul in her voice that is like really, it's magical. That's all I gotta say. It's like some damn magic out of a hat. I'll tell you that. Man, I'm studying that. And it makes me think, this past weekend with some friends, talking about creating your own world. We went and saw that movie, A Quiet Place, and I've been waiting for. I'm not the biggest scary movie buff. Okay, I'll tell you that. I'll put that out there. But there are some that really pique my interest, like M. Night Shyamalan and guys like that. People like that, and it's, man. Let's see here, but A Quiet Place, and it's crazy to know the guy from The Office, John Krasinski, created that. Just think, like, if you have the resources and you're imaginative enough, you can really, in this world, live and create out anything. I mean, look at what we're doing here. I mean, this is my own little world, honestly. And it's cool to have everybody here to get to connect with me on so many different things. But yeah, back to A Quiet Place. Just really, the whole idea behind it is just amazing. Creatures that are attack sound, and just like, think about it. That's like from a musician standpoint too. Like, you ain't making music, okay? Ain't happening. I was reading about how they made that movie, and a bunch of articles about AI came up, and me and some of the homies have been talking about it, and you hear about AI, and a lot of people put like a negative connotation behind it, or negative setting or tone to it, but I got to think about all the other things in our human experience that were levels of growth. So think about like the invention of the wheel, okay? Then like electricity. But let's even go back farther to fire. Think about how many people and things, places, and things had to burn or get burnt before we figured out how to harness fire. But then once we did, that was a game changer. So think about all the things and the people that had to get burnt before being able to harness that. And I feel like AI might be similar. You know, there's going to be some aspects where it's going to maybe seem, is it moralistic as far as, you know, consciousness goes, and depending on what is going to have to get burnt, you know, I think we're going to have to, you have to touch the handle, you know, you got to touch it with your finger first before you grab it. So I think it's really important what happens in the next, I'd say, 10 to 20 years that will shape what artificial intelligence becomes. And how it makes me think about how it ties into music and art. You know, as a musician, makes me think about fake streams and fake bots and voices that aren't, you know, that are generated. I mean, I only look at it as something to remix. That's all music is anyway. It's just, you know, a sound that was remixed to something else that was made to something different, you know. I love when you hear a song and you think it's the original, and then like years later you hear the original and you're like what the hell? You know, it makes you think about all the different versions that had to happen before that. Yeah, and I have faith that the true artists out there will be able to harness its abilities and use it for what it is intended for. And I'm excited for the future of it, honestly. I'm ready for it. Me and the team are working endlessly to use it to connect with the music and create visuals and whole bunches of things. But it's not taking anyone's job. I'll tell you, it's actually creating more, to be honest. But we won't dive into that. I wanted to give a big shout out to a few people. This is the time in the podcast where I tell you where most of this art came from and the logos and some of the ideas. The logo up at the top here that's in the middle was, and that you saw in the very beginning here, was created by Creative Squeeze. Some homies out in California who, man, a few revisions and it turned out, it turned into something that I couldn't even have ever imagined. And it is my heart and my soul. You will see me putting stickers up in your neighborhood in the near future. Okay? I'm proud of that. And I'm letting you know. Thank you, Creative Squeeze, really, for your patience and your let's see here, your being able to take an idea and turn it into something tangible. Thank you. Got the homies over at Tech Pod. That's Holden and Chris. Man, let me tell you a story about Chris. He is from the UK, and he saw an 8-second clip on Snapchat of me in a studio singing, and he was motivated enough from that 8 seconds to find out who I was, because he geographically, you know, found it, so he didn't have the name or anything like that, or at least my information. And he went through some lengths to find me, and I'm not even going to go into detail the exact lengths, but let me tell you, it was like a detective on a case. And when he found me and he told me the story, I thought he was bogus. I didn't believe him. I'm like, who is this catfish? And where'd you come from? And so then I started to dig. We had a few phone calls, and, you know, he ended up being a real person. And it proved to me that if 8 seconds of a clip, you know, this is deep stuff right here. If 8 seconds of a clip can inspire someone to find that source and let them know how much it meant to them from across the frickin' world, like, that gave me the most hope in my music reaching the world. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. So let's go. I'm not going to get, you know, that's one for the grandkids, all 100 of them. I want to thank Chrysaline Petropoulos, who was my vocal instructor. Without her, I would not have a strong grasp on my emotions. And finding out that you can't sing and cry at the same time. So pick one. Then we got the three-headed monster, okay? Brandon Lackey from Lineup Room Studios on Saratoga down in Baltimore. Thank you for everything you've done and your attention to detail. And you are one of those engineers that moves and grows with an artist. We don't just make the same thing every time. We make something different every single time I step in there. And that is a gift. Yeah, Brandon, thank you. Next, you got Nate Middleman from Above Ground Records. And Nate has taught me that building the foundation of the sound, and he is really is a wizard with like the bussing and like where the you know, the effect goes in the chain, and he's really taught me a lot about Pro Tools and how to really harness a sound. And then once you find it, being able to use it to the best of its ability. Knocking it out the park every single time. So thank you. And then I have the man, the myth, the Swamp Lady legend, D9, Chris Hansberger. You really are the most cinematic musician I know. Your sounds are beyond this world, and you really help me experiment and help me step outside of the box. And I have faith that, you know, the stuff that we are making now is going to be some of my favorite stuff, and some stuff that I know I put the most attention to when it came to like sound design too. Yeah, so thank you. And shout out to some of the videographers. We got Lukey Bird, shot Rewind and Breaking Molds. And I got Light Street Productions. We have one in the bank right now. We're going to do a premiere at my show a little bit later this year, where we really we stepped out of our comfort zone, all of us, and created something that I've always wanted to do. I mean, it was on the bucket list, so check that thing off, man. And yeah, I'm super appreciative for you guys. Rob Silver Productions. And let's see here. I got to thank Mom and Dad, you know, of course. Got to bring that one out. And last but not least, who you might hear a little more from is my homie Matthew Gruby. He has been helping me side by side with every decision in this podcast, and the attention to detail is unlike any other. And you will be successful. I promise that the grind that you have and the smile on your face is going to take you far. All right? You might hear a little more from him, you know, in the future, but I'm not going to give any spoilers. But I got to pee. Yeah, nice. I see you later, boy. You want it done enough for her. Wants a skater, boy. I see you later, boy. She wants a skater, boy. I see you later, boy. Oh. Some songs just get stuck in your head, you know? Man. Let's get down to brass tacks here. I want to dig a little bit into what respecting perspectives is and how it came to fruition. It encompasses a bird's eye view of life itself and gives you a viewpoint that you haven't ever seen. Or maybe it's the only perspective you've seen. But understanding that we all are having our own journey and we're the center of it. How can you still be at the center but also on the outside? And throughout this mountainous path that I've taken to finding what this is, I've really been able to discover how to bring together a web of experiences that are all interconnected somehow. Maybe 3 links, 5 links, maybe 500 links. You know, you can compare it to like your connected friends on like Facebook, you know, the people that you know but the other people know. You know, how can you influence people? Man, think about influence. And now you know, in today's world, influence can really come out of nowhere. But I think that's what we're missing, is that deep connection with your influences. In your fluent, you know? And understanding the struggles of the world as a whole and as an individual. And I think understanding others' challenges and I mean, it really comes down to a struggle. You know, how can you learn about your own? And thinking about how your best day could be someone's worst. Or your worst day could be someone's best. Yeah, that's a deep one. You really have to think about that. And it helps me to really dig down deep to my heart and my soul and what lies there and where it comes from. And it helps me understand where other people are coming from and why they say the things that they say and do the things that they do. Helps me read people, helps me read situations. Just understanding my own situation. And think about the different struggles that are divided between different generations and different age groups have different things that they have to be conscious of and that they have to put effort into creating a path that they can be proud of. And through that, I think self-discovery is at the center of respecting perspectives. Man, it feels good to really just open up about something that means so much to me. And I hope that throughout this journey, y'all can see it how I see it and how others see it. I want to read something from an artist friend of mine, Caskey, who I spoke about earlier. He's not just a singer-songwriter, but he is also a poem writer and a visual artist as well. And I want to read a poem. The title of the book is Fear Does Not Belong Here by Brandon Caskey. And we're just going to flip to a page. Final goodbye. Bitterness resides in me like an old angry tenant whose pores drip forgottenness, reminding me of the way rejection smells. A tainted assortment of misfortunes, carrying their stories from one home to another, coveting the neighborhood, renaming streets and changing landmarks until I can't make it to Mr. Jim's comfortably. What holds you here with such vigor? A monk spoke to me with the cracks of his eyes, warning me to let you go, like a bad lover. And oh, how you have loved me bad. So when I release you into November's wind, return not with your glass apologies. No. Leave me with the weight of eternity and find new lovers whose homes to destroy. Whew. Man. That shows you that even in times of darkness and hurt and pain, you can still create something beautiful from it. Every time I read something out of here, it makes me think of a different emotion or a different place. It takes me to a place that is just very open, you know, and I can take things in and really like a sponge. Yeah, so recommend grabbing one of these. Let me know if you need help copping one, and we'll figure it out. Fear Does Not Belong Here by Brandon Caskey. Love you, bro. Man. And I also have another person who I really look up to, Mr. Don Miguel Ruiz, who is the author of The Four Agreements, which is one of my favorite books in the world. And it's taught me so much about myself and how to live my life as proud and from the heart with love as possible. So I have some things that I purchased on Amazon, and we're gonna flip right into them. Straight out the package, y'all. Okay. I mean, it's gonna have like that new book smell, if you know what I mean. Ooh, okay. So I got a bunch of these. I basically, once I read the first one, I got them all. So this one is Living a Life of Awareness. Okay? Daily Meditations on the Toltec Path. And this is by Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., his son. We're just gonna kind of flip through, and we're gonna pick something. Okay? Keeping knowledge in perspective. Knowledge serves an important purpose in the dream of the planet. It allows us to communicate with one another from a place of shared experience. It also allows us to go beyond our physical limits and use technology to live more comfortable lives. Without awareness, knowledge can take over the mind. Everything that comes into your field of awareness could be constantly labeled and translated based on past experience. Knowledge also enables domestication, a system of reward and punishment that offers your own self-acceptance and the acceptance of others in exchange for conformity. This is why the question, are you using knowledge or is knowledge using you? So important. You are primary and knowledge is secondary. Is your mind so overrun by what you know, what you have forgotten? This central piece. Are you using knowledge or is knowledge using you? Damn. I want you to think about that. We got, let's do one more actually. I copped a few of these, so. Man, right into the perspective. That's crazy. The world speaks in wild ways. We got Don Miguel Ruiz and Barbara Emery's The Three Questions. How to discover and master the power within you. I'm just going to do a short one here. Ask yourself, what is real? What is real? You will know what is real when you accept what is not real. Once we learn to challenge our stories, we get a sense of who we're not. Seeing that, we can become aware of the truth. We can see everything from an infinite point of view. You're grown accustomed to seeing yourself as a product of life, and perhaps even as a victim of circumstance.